All right, everyone, welcome to the WeRobotics webinar. I'll do a brief introduction. So our goal here at WeRobotics is to scale the positive impact of humanitarian development and environmental projects by developing professional training and appropriate robotics solutions to local partners in developing countries. We do this by globally co-creating flying labs, which are innovation centers that provide access to both on-site training and robotics platforms. We also carry out joint projects with our local partners, allowing them to apply the skills they have learned and accelerate the impact of their work. The training and projects are carried out with our growing network of technology partners comprised of leading companies and institutions within the robotics industry. This gives our local partners direct access to the latest robotics solutions and allows our tech partners to gain meaningful publicity on impactful projects, as well as field test their platform in an ethical and responsible manner. As such, WeRobotics serves as a platform or an accelerator between the robotics industry and outstanding local partners. We currently focus on aerial robotics, such as drones and UAVs, for data collection and cargo delivery. However, we'll be adding maritime and terrestrial robotics to our portfolio as these platforms become more accessible. After building local capacity to use robotics solutions safely and effectively, we aim to support local startup businesses, providing robotics as a service and creating jobs and long-term sustainability in the area. Our Flying Labs network allows these different groups to communicate with each other, catalyzing learning, innovation, and collaboration. The WeRobotics webinar series is an opportunity for individuals in the robotics for social good community to share their work with others. In past editions, we've featured guests such as the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, who showed us how their open aerial map platform could be used for humanitarian relief, and Science in the Wild, a small NGO who explained how they use a combination of aerial and aquatic robotics to monitor glaciers high up in the Himalayas for early flood warning. We also feature presentations from our Flying Lab coordinators on the work that they are doing locally in their countries. If you're interested in presenting at our next webinar, please reach out at peter@werobotics.org. All right, and now after that brief introduction to WeRobotics, I'm going to introduce our first guest, Walace de Oliveira, founder of Angel Drones, a social startup located in Brazil, which focuses on using robotics and data analysis to help cities become more resilient. Walace will describe for us the challenges and benefits and applications of using UAVs in Brazil.
So, hi everyone, my name is Walace. I came from Brazil, a beautiful country here in South America. And I will talk to you about Angel Drones, a social startup here in Brazil, and the challenges of using UAVs in many, many applications in Brazil. I believe that is disruptive technology, and I show you. So I love this quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And in this presentation, we really need to go fast and go far. So that's how we go. Oh. What's happening? Okay, a little bit more about myself. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I'm a former lieutenant mechanical engineer from Brazilian Navy, where I had my first contact with humanitarian applications, most notably in search and rescue, and some peacekeeping missions in Haiti and also in Lebanon. What's happening here? Okay. So that was my motivation to create this startup here in Brazil. Because 2011, my hometown was completely destroyed by huge landslides that you can see in this picture. That was the worst Brazilian natural disaster of all times and killed a lot of people that you can see here. Unfortunately, in Brazil and I think in South America, we have a lack of urban planning, and we have many favelas, which are poverty-stricken communities and where more than 11 million people live. So they are under threat all the time, mainly in Brazil by landslides and floods. So it's a huge problem in Brazil. It causes a lot of damages. It kills a lot of people every year. It's important to say it's every year. So it's a real problem. That's here on your right, unfortunately, is my friend's daughter, who was only 3 years old, and she unfortunately was killed by a huge and unexpected landslide in 2011. Her name was Ana Julia, and I called this project some Ana Julia project. So let's see some numbers about the 2011 disaster here in Brazil, our worst natural disaster. It killed more than 1,000 people, near $1 billion in economic damages in agriculture, tourism, infrastructure. Almost 30,000 people were displaced. It took near 30 years to recover, and unfortunately many diseases spread, such as cholera, dengue, Zika virus, leptospirosis, and so on, and huge environmental damages. So that is a challenge. Brazil is known as the land of contrasts. We are a beautiful country. That's the city of Rio de Janeiro, which hosted the Olympic Games in 2016. But unfortunately, that's the other side of Rio de Janeiro. You can see here our biggest favela, which is a poverty-stricken community where more than 60,000 people live. And you can see there are huge mountains, and so that's a dangerous place. They are under threat all the time. So let's see some impressive numbers about Brazil. We have a population of 200 million people, a territory which is bigger than Europe. It's the fourth largest country in the world. One of the top agriculture producing countries, so that's an application for drones here in Brazil, a huge application, because agriculture, we have the largest agribusiness sector in the world. We are between the 15 most unequal countries in the world. We have a lot of richest people and unfortunately more poor people. And near 11 million people live in the Brazilian favelas, which are extremely violent, and we have more than 800 cities in Brazil under risk of floods and landslides that you can see on your right. So you can see a territory bigger than Europe, with a lot of risk areas, fortunately. So that's a challenge. That is statistics from a report financed by the World Bank. It shows an impressive number about the natural disaster damage in Brazil. So I'm always scared about this number. We spent in 19 years, from 1995 to 2014, almost $42 billion in 19 years. Slovenia, it's our entire country GDP in just 19 years. It has an average $2.5 billion a year. So that's the economic cost of natural disaster in Brazil. And the main cause in Brazil is usually floods and landslides. Here's some statistics about fatalities in Brazil by natural disaster, and also Latin America that you can see here. Brazil has an average of 10 people killed from 2008 into 2011. And that you can see here on your right, the Latin American average, which is the greatest in the world from 1970 to 2008. And this year, a natural disaster in Colombia, unfortunately, took place, killing a lot of people. Also, with natural disaster, and possibly correlated with natural disaster, we have the spreading of several tropical diseases, most notably the Zika virus and the dengue fever, which is caused by the same mosquito, which is the Aedes aegypti mosquito. So that's a huge problem in Brazil, a huge challenge here, and we spend on average more than $3 billion due to this virus. And it's not only about money and about economic damages. It's killing people, and it's causing microcephaly. I have a study from Nature magazine, and it's unfortunately Zika virus and microcephaly is correlated. So only to 2016, we had here more than 2,000 microcephaly cases. On your left, you can see our map and estimated distribution of Aedes aegypti, and in Brazil from high to low. You can see our territory, a big territory here. It's red. So unfortunately, the virus is well adapted to our environment, and it's spreading even from the United States, Florida, and also Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador. So that's a problem in South America, that UAVs can address this problem efficiently. So what is the solution? And we think, from our perspective, the solution is resilient cities, greener cities, sustainable cities, prosperous cities, with urban planning. So you have to know your city, you have to know your problem. So data is the key point to solve this problem, in our opinion. And our inspiration for angel drones, for building angel drones in Brazil, was WeRobotics. So we could not wait for a flying lab here, so we started our local solution based all the time on WeRobotics Flying Lab. So that's Nepal Flying Lab, which is amazing, an amazing team, and that's our inspiration all the time. So we thought, we built our local solution, and we are doing everything. Now, I did the logo, I draw the logo, our website, some competition like the United Nations competitions. We have a professional coach right now who is from Canada, and he has more than 30 years in social entrepreneur, and he's giving all the professional advices to us. That's our team, a beautiful team. We have a beautiful lady among us. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people working really hard to do this project in Brazil and to do a good job and address challenging problems. So our first mission, and our step number 1, was affordability. We did several case studies, some validation, and optimization. Then you can see our case studies. This case study showed the behavior of the cost, so that you can see that we are improving and that the cost is lowering. We have an average of right now of $20 and $30 per hectare of mapping using drones, using UAVs.